Check us out at WURDradio.com. You can also check us out on TuneIn. If batteries,
Batteries. Get a
get in the
9 volt.
get in the battery club and give up your address for buying batteries. Remember how random that was?
Yes, it was. I remember that very, very, very well.
Why
That
did
was
they
like a
want?
big deal. That was a rite of passage to go to Radio Shack and get a battery, become a member of the battery club.
But why did they always want your information when you buy batteries, man?
Because
I
they
always
wanted to
felt
be able
like,
to send you advertisements. That's why. It was
yeah,
about
but always,
advertising.
but this, look, I mean, we talk about like the conspiracy theories around the election and like
Hmm.
where a lot of white folk are right now who voted for Trump.
Hmm.
But I mean, let's be real, black folk, we have some conspiracy theories, bro. And one of them was I ain't giving Radio Shack none of my information. The government is tracking me through those batteries.
They very well could have been. It didn't mean that they weren't. It didn't mean that they weren't.
Oh boy, this show is also being brought to you courtesy of the engineering skills of one Kawesa.
Coesa.
What's good, Kawesa?
Oh, I'm good. How are all of you doing?
We are yet holding on.
There you
Amen.
go. Yeah, we're holding on, Kawesa, and we're getting close to the holiday. Kawesa, are you cooking?
I actually am. I had started making my smoked turkey. I'm getting ready to do the greens tonight because they're always better when they sit for a little bit longer. So yeah, I have started cooking.
Yeah,
Hmm.
those greens that just look like they've been sitting in like that water, that pot for like 10 days.
It's pot liquor, man. It's pot liquor. You got to drink that stuff. That stuff is delicious.
All right, pot liquor. Hey, folks, listen, if you're on Facebook Live, do us a big favor. Listen, it's not going to cost you a dime, but it's really important. Hit the share button right now. Send this out to your friends and family. I know some of you are ashamed that you listen, so you don't want anybody to know. In fact, you're trying to figure out how can I do this anonymously.
Mm.
Well, if you want to listen, if that's you, go to YouTube. No one will see, but yeah, check it out. Bruh, this
Yes, sir.
morning, let's start by paying our respects to the man.
We didn't introduce ourselves.
Oh, sitting across from me is Bishop David. Oh, David Royster Dwayne. Dwayne David Royster.
And sitting across from me is the Reverend Dr. Mark Kelly Tyler.
My bad,
That's
man.
all good. That's all good.
Folk
Well,
know us.
That's right.
We are known. They know us. So yeah, man. Seriously, I'm sorry. I got a little bit distracted because yesterday we lost a great one. The mayor,
Oh, yeah,
David Dinkins,
Yeah,
passed away.
yeah. The first black mayor in New York City.
Only black mayor, right?
Yeah, no, I heard that. Like they said that they were like the first black mayor in New York City. I'm like, I think he's the only one. But I was like,
Yeah. Some white folk they're like, and the last one. If we have anything to do with it, I mean, he was my frat brother.
oh, he was Alpha. Okay.
Yeah, man.
All right.
He was our frat. So we took a lot of pride in the election of David Dinkins as mayor. Anything stand out about his tenure there? I mean, I don't think when he was mayor,
We were young.
yeah, we were.
Yeah.
I mean, we were probably just kind of coming into our own, understanding of a lot of this. But I know he was an incredible figure to rise through the complicated maze of New York politics, because that is, to become mayor of New York, it's probably easier to become president of the United States than to be president of New York, because the borough politics, I mean, it is kind of like a mini United States. Staten Island is kind of like the rural South. You got Brooklyn, the Bronx, Manhattan. It's just, and Queens. It's an interesting maze. And for a black person, when he did, I mean, you would imagine a black person could do it today, given kind of where we are. We have a black woman as the vice president of the United States. We've had a black president. We've had black mayors in places like Virginia. And so you would think that today, but this guy did it in the 80s or early 90s.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Started in 1918. Sorry, Reverend Dinkins was old, but he was not that old.
No,
He made
no,
it to
not at all.
He made it to his 90s, but he wasn't that old. 1989,
Yeah,
and that's just amazing.
it is. It is. I actually, he actually put up a lot of crap when he became mayor up in New York, and I don't think did he serve 2 terms? I
No,
don't know. He only served 1 term, I think. Yeah.
Giuliani beat him, I think.
Yeah. I mean, and well, that makes a lot of sense now when you think back on it. Yeah. I mean, it's just a lot that was going on at that particular moment in time in human history. Shortly before that, Wilson Goode became the first black mayor of Philadelphia. Howard Washington predated him by a few years in Chicago. But we began to see some of the big cities begin to have to come to grips with the fact that they were multicultural spaces and multiracial spaces that they had to bring political leaders from different ethnicities and different racial groups into power. And I think it was really the height of black power in New York City. I don't think it's had that much black power since then, but because every other mayor has been a white male up to this point. Now, the current mayor is married to a black woman. And I'm sorry, my throat's all jacked up there. But yeah, that's the closest that we've gotten since then. Now they have a position in New York that's elected, which is considered a public advocate, a consumer advocate, or something like that. That person's considered the #2 person in the administration. That person actually happens to be an African American male right now. So, and a real progressive brother as well. But we have not had another mayor. Rumors are that he could be mayor next year. That if he decides to run, he's a very popular figure amongst the political class in New York City.
So Asa Khalif said that white liberals turned on him. That's why he only served 1 term. And then let's not forget Giuliani was extremely popular back then. I mean, the vampire figure that he's turned into today is nothing like I say nothing, but some people say probably he was just like it. But he was he had risen to his position by taking on the mafia, the mob, whatever you want to call it. And as this tough prosecutor, he ran on a get tough, think about it. Remember, not too many years after his election, Michael Nutter won, the election in Philadelphia on a very similar platform, stop and frisk, being tough on crime. And so in that era, that was appealing to people who were coming out of the 80s. The crack wars were still kind of at a fever pitch. And so people were willing to give up freedoms in order to feel safe, which now we look back on and we deeply regret. But so there's a lot that was going on.
Yeah, I mean, remember, shortly after this period is when the crime bill gets passed, right, in the early 90s.
About the same period. Yeah,
right, absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah, you're 100% right about what the mood of the country was at that point.
Yes, so David Dinkins, this refined brother, coming out of Manhattan, going up against a Giuliani, who we have seen recently is literally willing to say and do anything to hold political power. I mean, look at what he's doing for Trump. What do you think he would have done for himself?
I don't think he was that bad back then, though. If I remember Giuliani, because I was actually a poli-sci major at Boston College at the time and was beginning to watch New York politics because I had a lot of New Yorkers I was in school with. I don't think he was that bad. As a matter of fact, he appealed to a lot of Democrats just because of the way he showed up and how he was more moderate in his flavor than. But I also remember at the same time that Giuliani gets elected to become the mayor of New York City, Donald Trump was actually a Democrat. So, wonders be.
Right. So, yes, they are. So, look, we got a guest today, and so we're going to be talking to Roz Wunschnick from Unite Here in the second block. So let me just lift up a couple of things. First of all, certification in Michigan is done. Should have been a procedural vote. This has never, ever been an issue. And yet it has become politicized because Donald Trump has cast so much doubt in the minds of his base about the legitimacy of the election once again, because remember, black people cheat in his mind and in the minds of his followers. So you can't trust the results from Wayne County, which happens to have Detroit.
That's
you
right.
can't. So there you actually have one of the 4 commissioners who was a Republican voted, well, he abstained, I should say. He did not vote. So it was 3-0 with one abstention. So Michigan is done. It's a wrap. They're moving forward. Those electoral votes are done. In Pennsylvania, we have started, and almost all the counties are certified. It was supposed to be finished yesterday. I think there are about 4 that are running behind. Yeah, but the big ones are done. And interesting, though, I want to get your thoughts on, so in Montgomery County, in Montco, how surprising. One of the commissioners, Joe Gale,
Okay. Oh, jeez.
voted no. So I see Kiera's watching. That's her old neck of the woods where she public defender before. I believe Joe Gale voted no.
Yes.
It still passed 3-1. What's up with Joe Gale?
Joe Gale is, so wait a minute, there was a big issue during the summer, during the uprisings, when Joe Gale, we were out protesting against Joe Gale and trying to get him. So just for, I just want to, be clear, some people know this already, I was actually a councilman in Norristown, Pennsylvania. So I have deeper understanding of Montgomery County politics. And actually I was there when Kiera Bradford Gray was there as the chief public defender. As a matter of fact, we met some time ago. She probably don't remember me, but that's okay. I ain't mad. So here's the thing about Joe Gale. Joe Gale is a Trumper. Actually, what's interesting is that when Power had its first leadership assembly, its first action in Montgomery County, Joe Gale showed up. And he was this really conservative sort of conspiracy guy that was out there. And he, believes that, I think black people are evil. He hates Black Lives Matter. He really said some horrible things during the summer that we actually had to protest out there, and we're calling for him to resign. He is, he loves Donald Trump. Loves Donald Trump. And so when it came for the Montgomery County vote, he and a couple other people from the community made all these accusations about the vote count happening in Montgomery County, which actually is a Democratic county now. And it targeted some of the communities in Montgomery County, some of the cities and municipalities in Montgomery County that are strongholds of people of color, and claimed there was all kinds of irregularities, not in the white areas, but only in the black and brown areas. So there was a lot of tension about this. Joe Gale is, the Republican Party tries to distance itself from Joe Gale in Montgomery County. He got elected in much the same way that the minor party candidates get elected here in Philadelphia for city council, in that by the Montgomery County Constitution, there's always a minority party candidate on the county commission. There's only 3 commissioners for the whole county, and there's always one from a minor party. It just so happened the year that he got elected, the other Republican candidate was horrendous, so he wound up getting, slightly more votes, and he became a part of the county commission. But the Republican Party in Montgomery County tries to distance themselves from him.
Well, he called BLM a hate group.
Yes. Yes.
I don't think he knows what that phrase means. You may not like
BLM. He doesn't know what BLM means, or he doesn't know what hate group is.
Hate, both. So, all right. So in spite of that, Montgomery County has been certified. So listen, it's moving on. As we said all along, this is, we're watching the last throes of Trump. His throngs didn't show up with their pitchforks and axes, and take to government officials' dwellings like they thought. And so it's all done. In fact, he is starting to accept it. He is, well, it's debatable about whether or not he said the GSA can, ascertain and now let Joe Biden move forward, the phrase that they use. But they said, no, it was not the president. We actually have the facts now that says it's good. But of course, like him, he's going to take credit for anything.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, he's like, hey, a tweeted, I made the sun come up today. So, no, you didn't. Did the sun come up? Well, yeah. See, I made it. I'm the president. And watch, at 5 o'clock, I'm going to make it go down. I mean, he's just like, so he takes credit for something he had nothing to do with. But Biden President-elect Joseph Biden will now begin to get the very important briefings. And this is extremely critical, folks, because we are in a pandemic. Under normal circumstances, this is critical, as we learned after 9/11, that, a lot of this, you could put some of that on Bill Clinton for that, feet dragging and being upset about the election results in Florida. We were all upset about and angry. And but the 9/11 Commission report came out, and they said one of the things that put the Bush administration basically back and kind of missed what happened is the delay. And so, look, you got to take the politics out of this. And this is for the safety of everyone in this country. And with the pandemic and needing to get the vaccine out to people, again, as we said, another company has come out and said that they have a vaccine, so things are ready. We want a smooth rollout, a smooth transition. So the Biden team is moving forward. And finally, they have also named Janet Yellen.
Yes. She's the head of the Federal Reserve Bank to be Secretary of Treasury, first woman ever.
So what do you think about that? I'm asking in the sense of you tend to represent like the far left, of the two of us. And I'm left, but you're left of left. And so, how I got to believe that that's not going to make folk on the far left happy when they would have probably wanted like an Elizabeth Warren or something in that position.
Yeah, I think,
or Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't have been good for Bernie. I think, look, the Treasury Department has some very specific functions and goals, and I will probably break with my left colleagues on this. Considering the state of the economy right now, there are some things that we just need to do in Treasury that also oversees the IRS and other places that probably is not going to line up as well, being super uber left at this moment. I think, we got a rocky road ahead of us, especially as we go back into the long, dark winter of COVID too. So I think we need to, I'm actually okay with her. She actually did a great job when she was running the Federal Reserve. So, and actually kept interest rates low and helped to make sure people, we recovered post-Obama years from the housing crash.
All right. Well, one thing people are saying, I know we're about to head to break, is that what Biden has already done and the people that he has chosen is that John Kerry as this climate czar should make folk like our friend love to hear what Rabbi Julie Greenberg with Powers Climate Justice would say. That's probably not far enough for her either. But again, he is bringing people in who actually know how to govern and know how the machine of government works versus the novices that Donald Trump brought in. And so it's going to be, I think, once they get their feet on the ground and start to unravel the mess that has been made, things should start to work in an efficient manner. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Again, if you're watching on Facebook Live, hit the share button and we'll continue this conversation. This is the Power Hour. Be right back.
With Internet Essentials from Comcast for only $9.95 a month, you get more. High-speed home internet service included. Peace of mind with XFi Advanced Security included. Access to millions of XFi Wi-Fi hotspots, that's included too. Internet Essentials from Comcast brings you affordable, high-speed internet to your home for only $9.95 a month. When you're connected, you're ready for anything. Visit InternetEssentials.com for more information. Taxes extra. Restrictions apply.
Monday through Thursday, keep it locked to WURD Radio. At 6 a.m., start your day with the Power Hour, hosted by Bishop Dwayne Royster and Reverend Mark Kelly Tyler. At 7, it's Wake Up with WURD with Solomon Jones. At 10 a.m., it's Reality Check with Charles Ellison. Then at 1 p.m., it's The Source, hosted by Andrea Lawful Sanders on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and the Black Women's Leadership Council on Wednesdays. At 4 p.m., it's Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. Then at 7, it's Save Space with Sincerely Sarita. At 9 p.m., round up your day with Keeping It Real with the Reverend Al Sharpton. Keep your dial locked to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on WURDRadio.com and the WURD Radio app. Or watch live on WURD TV via Facebook and YouTube. WURD Radio. Independent Black Media. Save the date. Friday, December 4th from 1 p.m. till 4 p.m. for the 5th annual WURD Empowerment Experience. And this year, the virtual and on-air event will be extra special as we celebrate the career of radio veteran Cody Anderson and discuss the importance of independent black media. For more details about the 2020 WURD Empowerment Experience or to RSVP, visit wordradio.com and stay tuned to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. For all young people to succeed in Philadelphia public schools, they need adequate resources and materials. But not all students have the same access and opportunities they deserve. As Philadelphia public schools continue to operate with remote learning, we at WURD Radio want to do our part to help students have the resources they need to be successful. Please join us and our community partners, Global Citizen and the Cayuga Elementary School, by donating supplies online so students have the same supplies we would want for our own children. Go to globalcitizen365.org to make an online contribution of supplies."
Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning, Frequad starting here in Philadelphia this Tuesday morning. No major problems yet. I-95 southbound. Coming down through Bridge, a little slow through that construction zone as that volume begins to build. And again, Allegheny through Girard Lake, northbound looks pretty good. Westbound Vine, Lake Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Now the Schuylkill eastbound. Watch for an accident being worked on between Gulf Mills and the Blue Route 476 closures there. As a result of this accident, a pretty serious crash eastbound 76 westbound side between University and Divine building there through construction. Again, between the Blue Route and Gulf Mills. And watch for some delays there again as a result of that eastbound crash. Major roads in New Jersey looking good still. For more traffic information, log on to SIGAlert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour with Mark Kelly, Tyler, and Dwayne David Royster. We are here Monday through Fridays from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. to bring you the latest in news, happenings around Philadelphia, and of course, our opinions. Now, we have a couple of guests on the line, but you had something you wanted to say before we got to our guests.
Yeah, first of all, again, in case you missed the top, we did pause to recognize the late David Dinkins, former mayor of New York City. And again, shout out to him, my frat brother. But I just want to, so Sarah has been very active on our thread the last few days. Glad.
Sarah McIntyre, yes.
Yeah, she keeps reminding us that, look, y'all don't, none of this mean nothing if we don't win Georgia. So right on with that. But it looks like she was a little taken aback by Raphael's comment about Kamala Harris and how one day we'll really get to know who she is. Sarah, take the words of Tawanda there, who says, "Here we go." Sarah, Raphael, Sarah. Have fun out there. That's just Raphael being Raphael. Man, you got one take when it comes to Kamala Harris. It's wrong, but he is consistent about it, and he's been saying it for over a year. I just want to introduce them formally. Please proceed.
All right, thank you. We are joined this morning by two labor leaders in our city who have been making real powerful differences for working folk for a long time now, and close allies of the work that we do at Power. And so I want to introduce Rosalind Winachich, who is the president of Unite Here Local 274, and Earlene Blind, who is the lead organizer for Unite Here Local 274. Good morning. How are you both doing today?
Good morning.
Great. Good morning.
Great. I'm glad you all could get up early and join us. I deeply appreciate this. I know this is our early start to the day. But we wanted to have a conversation with you because there are a series of bills going through City Council right now called Black Work Matters, which is taken from a report that Power did some years ago around the hospitality industry. And I'm wondering if we could just kind of get into a conversation about that, because they have some real impact around COVID and COVID recovery for hospitality workers here in the city of Philadelphia. So I wonder, Roz, if we could start with you, and then I want to get to Earlene. If you could just kind of tell us a little bit about these bills and, what they're trying to do.
Sure. They're really simple, actually. It's 3 bills, but the basic idea is that if you were laid off because of the pandemic, as almost all hospitality workers were, that you get your job back. when the job comes back. So as business improves, it's gone back and forth this year, but once there's a vaccine out there and as our economy begins hopefully to recover, that the workers who have already paid such a huge price for the pandemic will, at the very least, be the first ones to get their job back. That was their job when they were laid off.
Great. Great. Now, Arlene, I understand you were a worker actually before you came to work for the union. What does this mean for workers right now to be able to know that they can get their jobs back once we kind of get through the COVID crisis?
Actually, it means everything. As a former housekeeper, it's different than, in the wintertime, we usually go on call, but you got your job back when business picks back up starting in March, right? But now with this pandemic, workers have been out of work now for about 8 months and not knowing if they're going to have their jobs when the business picks back up, So this bill will guarantee that they are the first persons hired back when the economy picks up. And that means the world to the workers. I've been talking to a lot of the workers, and there's so much going on right now where people are in danger of losing their homes. The unemployment is about to run out. And just having that peace of mind that they don't have to go out and search for a job because they know they still have their job, right. It gives them a chance to be able to concentrate on the now and not have to worry about what's going to happen to them in the future because they know they got their job.
Mm-hmm. Arlene, what can you tell us what is life like for a lot of the workers in some of these places? I mean, hotels are they're nowhere near capacity in times when they should have been. So, I mean, just how are people actually making it? We had a $1,200 stimulus check months ago. So, I mean, are folk having to take, welfare benefits? Or, I mean, just literally, how are people actually making it from week to week?
Well, you hit the nail on the head, right? So, yes, the unemployment now is basically a quarter of what they used to make. So right now, people are dealing with that. They are, with the union, we have what we call a hospitality academy. Right, and what we do is we reach out to workers. We have a hotline number that the workers can call for anything that they might need as far as unemployment assistance, home assistance, as far as we give them links to, we help them be able to reach out for rental assistance, for LIHEAP. We help them with food assistance, food banks and stuff like that. We did food giveaways. We've been trying to help them with any and everything that they might need help with, even when it comes down to mental issues. They might have problems with suffering from depression during this pandemic. So we've been just making sure that we connect them to the right resources to make sure that they get what they need.
Yeah, I mean, part of the problem that we have why this really is important is that this industry, which is actually a huge industry here in Philadelphia, is majority Black and brown women that are in this industry. So there's a whole swath of single moms, women that are caretakers for other family members who are now out of work. This is deeply disconcerting. Roz, I'm wondering, so where do the bills stand right now? And I understand that the industry is actually fighting back because there was an issue in the bill about a timeline for that the industry actually wanted to kind of put a deadline when they actually had to call these previously trained union workers back, and now they want to cut that deadline short. So where do things stand right now with all of this?
Yes, many of the projections in the industry, including some of the most renowned projections, are saying that the industry will not recover for 5 years. That's what they are projecting. And so, of course, we all hope we now know that there are vaccines out there, and we hope they will be widely available at some point next year. But just because a vaccine is widely available does not mean the business will bounce back, because the impact on the industry of all this time without business it has been intense, and we don't expect the same levels of business travel, which is what drives the hotel and airport industry here in Philadelphia. We don't expect those industries to bounce back to pre-COVID levels as soon as the vaccine is available. So we know that people need a longer protection of their recall rights to be able to go back to these jobs that they've had for so many years, and that have created some stability in their lives and in their communities. And when somebody has worked so many years to get to a job, to work their way up in a job, to get these jobs still aren't where we want them to be, but many of these hotel jobs now pay between $17, $18 to $21, $22 an hour, with in a union context, with health benefits and with a retirement pension. For the pandemic to rob that from people because they don't have long enough recall rights is just unacceptable. And as you said, Bishop Royster, these are overwhelmingly black and brown women, and so it's really robbing them and their communities of that stability if we don't have these protections for long enough. So we've held firm that there needs to be at least 5 years of rights to go back to work.
About 5 years, and they're trying to make it like next year, aren't they?
The lobbying,
yes.
The Pennsylvania Restaurant Lodging Association was attempting to have, I think, a sunset between two years, 3 years at most, I think, was what we were hearing. And the co-sponsors, the co-sponsor of the recall bill is Councilwoman Helen Gim. Instead of three bills, as you said, it's a joint work between Councilwoman Gim, Councilmember Kenyatta Thomas, and Councilmember Councilmember Kenyatta Johnson and Councilmember Isaiah Thomas. So they've been working together as one package, and these sunset provisions are on this recall bill, and Councilwoman Gim has not moved off that 5 years, which we appreciate.
Gotcha.
Hey, let me ask a quick question. So right now there's a lot of talk, pressure on the Biden administration to basically eliminate college debt, right? $1.5 trillion. People are saying probably be more like $50,000 max for people, but that would take out 70%. Now I know Unite Here was actually knocking doors for Joe Biden, and so there's a lot that you all have invested in their election. That being said, that doesn't help the majority of the folk we're talking about. I'm not saying that some folk who are in this industry don't have college debt. Some certainly do. But by and large, a lot of these are moms who are trying to send kids to college for the first time in their families. What kind of pressure is being put on the national stage to address this issue, offer protections, and put some money in their pocket too?
Yeah, I would
Roz.
say on the national stage, I mean, more than anything right now, people need relief. The jobs are not coming back right now. The $600 unemployment ended over the summer, and it's nothing. There were discussions about maybe it'll be less than that, but there's been nothing. We were out in the streets with other workers in the city, especially people in who are affected by, particularly in the hospitality industry, which has definitely been the hardest hit. And there's been no relief whatsoever, and it does make us feel, our members feel like their lives are not valuable because they've lost their jobs through no fault of their own, and those jobs, the majority of those jobs are not coming back anytime soon, and there's nowhere else to go. It's not like the economy is booming and there's other places for people to get jobs. So what are people supposed to do? This is a moment where the government needs to step in and offer real relief, and it has not done that.
Wow. This is painful. I mean, it really is. And it's, you're talking to two people who travel a lot. The two of us, we're both probably in the air 4 to 8 times a month, staying in our hotels for travel, for church, for our work with, Faith in Action and Power and everything else. And so when I look back now, I just took my first flight since March, and it was just one way. Stayed in one hotel since March. And so I know, there's a lot of, I think for those of us who travel, there's a sense of kind of like, survivor's remorse and guilt as well, knowing that our lack of travel is hurting people who count on it and depend on it. So Earlene, as we get close to the break, what would you say to folk in this moment? Tawanda on Facebook Live said that she's been tipping 50% whenever she travels or goes out in this moment, for those who are fortunate enough to be working. But what do you want folk to remember about where you all are in the fight that you're in?
I would just like people to know that for those that are able to work and they do travel and use the hotels and stuff like that, just remember that the workers that are still there and are working are still putting themselves at risk every day, right? They come in their hotels. They have these new COVID cleaning, they have a new list of things that they have to do now because of COVID, right? And they're scared. You have people that are working right now that are actually scared that, being in that building is putting themselves at risk, but they have to feed their families, right? And so we would just like people to know, I appreciate anybody that's tipping as much as you just said that people are tipping, right? It helps. But I want people to know that when you go into these hotels, you have to remember those hotels are working at a capacity right now where you got thousands of people that are at home, right? And they want their jobs back. They want to come back to work. And we just need to get this pandemic under control. But just remember, when you go in there, be nice to the housekeepers, be nice to the workers. Sometimes the guests are not as nice, but just think about that when you go in there, because a lot of times when people travel, they don't think about the workers that are working to keep that hotel running. They only were thinking about, what they're there for. But remember, keep your distance, keep your mask on, and don't do anything that will be causing people to get exposure and stuff like that. I would just like everyone to be able to come back to work soon, and I want these companies to start thinking about their workers and stop thinking about their bottom line, because a lot of times when these bills are trying to get passed, what they're lobbying for is basically to keep their bottom line. They're not worrying about the workers, and that's the problem. They need to put the workers at the forefront, because to be honest, if it wasn't for the workers, the money that they were making before this pandemic, they wouldn't have made it, because they don't go in there, they don't clean those beds, they don't wait on the customers, they don't do anything. It's the workers. And I need people to realize that the industry was booming before the pandemic because of the workers.
All right.
Think about the workers.
Hey, Earlene, we do on this show all the time, so thank you for what you had to say. Earlene Bly and Rosalind Wunschnick, let's stand with them. Tipping is great. That's a great start, but we want to also deal with the structural, institutionalized things. You all have a great day, and you're not in the fight by yourselves. Hey, folks, it's the Power Hour with Bishop I keep wanting to say David Dwayne, man. I don't know why today, But anyway, Dwayne, David, Royster, and myself, Mark Kelly Tyler. We'll be right back on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere.
COVID-19 impacted a lot of things this year, including regular vaccination appointments. Vaccines help protect you and everyone around you, especially during flu season. Schedule an appointment with your healthcare provider today to make sure you and your children are vaccinated. Vaccines keep us safe, and they work. Skip the flu this year. Get your vaccination today. Let's stay protected together. For more information, visit health.pa.gov, paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Come smile with Champion Dentistry, the house of smiles. Champion Dentistry has been helping to create, maintain, and accentuate healthy, beautiful smiles for over 30 years. Come have your teeth, gums, and smile checked out with the WURD Cleaning Special. Call now at 215-473-4717 to get your Champion smile or visit them at 1170 North 63rd Street.
I ain't no better than you, and you ain't no better than me. But we all have something in common. We all are in species, seeds of God's creation.
Tune in to Messages in the Music every Friday night with Joey T, midnight to 6 a.m. right here on WURD.
Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report's sponsored by Staples Stores. Busy ride this morning on the Schuylkill Expressway. It is the eastbound Schuylkill Expressway. Restrictions between Gulf Mills and the Blue Route 476. Pretty serious accident. A lot of cruising equipment remain on the scene there. Eastbound 76. Westbound side, you're getting Jam University through the Vine, through construction. Then watch for delays in the area of that eastbound accident out in the area of Gulf Mills. Now, westbound Vine Expressway, 8th out through Broad, a bit slow. Southbound 95, jamming Cottman through Bridge through that work zone. Again, delays Allegheny through Girard northbound. No major problems there as of yet. 55 in New Jersey northbound, beginning to build between 55 and 295 now this morning. Staples has the most wonderful deals of the year this holiday, like Apple AirPods, great for video conferences or online classes. Right now at Staples, Apple AirPods with wireless charging case for just $119. In store only, off rents $11.28, limit 2 while supplies last. Save big at Staples. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Now, a WURD weather update. Here's NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
Sunny skies today, but it will be a chilly one. Morning low temperatures in the 30s will gradually warm through the 40s and a high of 49 degrees this afternoon. Increasing clouds tonight, 37 tomorrow morning. We'll get some breaks of sunshine and a milder day for Wednesday, a high of 58 degrees. But rain clouds come in Wednesday night and for Thanksgiving Day. Most likely in the morning, but still a chance of some showers in the afternoon, up to 62 for Thanksgiving. I'm NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley with your most accurate forecast. Count on it.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Dwayne Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler. We are here Monday through Fridays from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. to bring you the latest news happenings around Philadelphia and, of course, our opinions. Just appreciated having Rosalind Winnicich from the president of Local 274 Unite Here and Earlene Bly, lead organizer of Local 274 Unite Here in the city of Philadelphia, representing hospitality workers. They not only represent hospitality workers at the hotels, they also represent the folk at the stadiums. And as many of you are also aware, they just shut the stadiums down so that there is no concessions, nobody is there at this point. So they're representing a lot of workers that are displaced and out of work right now. I have to say this, though. I'm a little frustrated with the hospitality industry right now. I was in a set of meetings around these particular bills because, as I said before, Power did a report some years ago called Black Work Matters that looked at the hospitality industry. And so these bills, Councilmember Gim is using, Black Work Matters as a piece for these particular bills based off of that report. But I sat in the meetings with the hospitality industry, and they were very clear, right? They don't want to have to continue to hire back these workers after a certain point in time. And it was very frustrating because these workers actually, are trained. They've been developed. They have continuing courses that they take around cleanliness and the materials and the chemicals and things that they use. I don't understand if you have a business and your business is starting to pick back up, you don't want to bring back your most senior folk who have the deepest training to help lead this. The only reason I can imagine that you don't want to do this is because you don't want to pay the bill. And that is, part of it. But I'm like, hospitality is an increasingly large industry here in the city of Philadelphia. I think it's important that we take care of Philadelphia. This is one of those structural things. And, you and I talk about this all the time, right? You can't continue to be you can't continue to be a political leader in the city of Philadelphia. You can't continue to be mayor in Philadelphia and be happy that we have this nomenclature as being known as the poorest big city in America, which is actually accurate. And then we're not doing the structural things to make sure that we are bringing folk back, you know, that are actually quality citizens that are productive in our communities, right? I mean, you heard what these union jobs are paying for folk, really good wages, good benefits for them to be able to survive, take care of their families. It seems to me that the council members, the mayor, need to make sure that, I don't care if it takes 10 years to get everybody back to work, that the hospitality industry should be required to offer these positions back at the previous rate these folk were making prior to them, you know, before they can go out and hire other folk. It doesn't cost the industry anything to do that. It just doesn't. It really doesn't.
Well, listen, I mean, there's always going to be folk who take advantage of a downturn as an excuse to get rid of people who are senior and then bring in new people because, again, as to your point earlier, that is the fastest cost savings. You know, I mean, I never will forget kind of a aha moment in a church board meeting at a church that I pastored. You know, I've been pastoring since '94, so 7 different congregations. And I'll never forget, in one meeting, we're kind of going over the budget, and one of the officers made just an observation that was kind of matter of fact because they worked in, you know, in corporate America. Like, well, you know, fastest way to adjust the budget is through payroll.
That's right.
They were like, that's the easiest way. And I'm like, what's that mean?
Yes.
Let some folk go. I was like, oh, man. I mean, you know, I'm thinking like light bill, cell phone, insurances. They like, no, Rev, no. They were like, those are fixed expenses.
Yeah.
They said, but what's not fixed? The drummer, the pianist, the custodian, the music ministry, the preaching staff, you know, and so people do often look at people as being expendable, unfortunately. And so that's why I wanted to ask that question as well about, you know, where do we take this on the national stage? Look, I get it. I have student loan debt. You know, I've got 4 children, and so some of them will incur some of this debt. And so I know how crushing it can be.
Sure.
Yet the people, a lot of the folk who have student loan debt have really good jobs to go along with it and are crying because that means there's $500 a month less out of a substantial paycheck to begin with. But what about the, you know, quote unquote, the least of these? So the folk who wish they had student loan debt as another, you know, kind of thing, because you'd have the income to go with it. $17 to $21 an hour is good if you only have a high school diploma or its equivalent. But, you know, who makes them whole at the end of this?
That's right.
What does eliminating student debt do for them? Pretty much nothing. And I know the argument is all, you know, a rising tide rises all boats, but they need some direct aid. And I'm saying to Joe Biden and to Kamala Harris and your administration that you cannot forget the people who are literally being crushed under this pandemic, and folk who, when we are shut down and at home, they're not Zooming into meetings. You can't Zoom in to make up a bed in a hotel.
That's right. That's right.
Period.
That's right. No, great point. Great point. I just want to say that I have a substantial student loan debt, and I just got a thing in the mail the other day that basically was like, okay, you're fine, because there was a COVID relief, but the COVID relief wasn't, we're taking away money. COVID relief was like, we're just putting this thing in deferment for the time being. And, you know, it's got the new bill the other day, and I was like, whew, that's going to hurt. So, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, but I mean, but you know, look, hey, look, thankfully, you know, we've got the kind of, you know, you got the kind of employment that has been where you've been able to like motor on, like it's just everything just switches and we just move. I mean, you know, we're having church online, we're doing everything online. But for a lot of folk, I mean, that just is not a reality, and we have to remember folk in that moment. I can't believe we're almost at the end of the show.
I know.
So speaking of work. So speaking of workers, there's one story out of Bucks County. You saw that the nurses went on strike up there?
They did at St. Mary's Hospital.
So they brought in like some scabs to fill in.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, all right, we're in COVID-19. The thing you keep hearing is that there are like no like hospital staff that are not working. Like every doctor, every nurse. In fact, they're working overtime. They're looking, you know, haggard and fatigued. And I'm like, where'd y'all find nurses that are not working to fill in? And Who would want a nurse who can't find a job during a pandemic working on them? Dude, these have got to be like, no shade, but I'm just saying, you got to be probably like one of the worst nurses, or you've been out of the profession like 30 or 40 years for them to bring you back. Here, I'm sorry. I meant to put, is that not your vein? Let me try again.
let me just say, because you know I'm married to a nurse. Yes. So nurses specialize like doctors specialize, right? So there are doctors, there are nurses that specialize in hospital work, and then there are nurses that specialize in community stuff, and then there are nurses that specialize in working in physicians' offices. In moments like this, because I actually used to run a hospice company, right? So I used to work in healthcare years ago. What happens in these particular moments, these traveling nurses make an incredibly large amount of money, right? So you might not want to stay in your local community because you might only make $50,000 a year. But if you do traveling nursing, which means you go someplace for 2 to 6 weeks or so, they might pay you in excess of, $90,000 or $100,000. For annualized rate. So I think that's part of where they find folk, they get folk from other places.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm telling you.
We've been in a pandemic for 10 months, bro.
You're right about the other piece, that there are nurses, that there are people that are coming out of retirement, that the license is still active.
How old are you?
So,
where's us coming in with the little white nursing outfit from the 60s? It's like, hey, where'd you dust that off?
I just read an article the other day. There were actually some nursing schools that are graduating their nurses a little early so that they can get in and start helping out because there's a national emergency. Gotcha. So, but I hear you on that. But I also know that nursing is very specialized, and if I did not defend the different types of nurses out there, I couldn't go home, brother. Go home.
You don't have to defend it. I'm good. All I'm saying is that all I've heard is that we have a shortage of people. There was just a big story yesterday that said it's not the ventilators, it's not anything else. It's the fact that there's just so few people out there who are even able to help you if you get sick. That's why I'm like, where have y'all been? And I mean, do I really want to trust my life to you? Hey man, look, I know you're about to close us out, but before we go, let me just say condolences to the family of Amber Racine, Esquire, attorney at law. She passed away this week, very young, 38 years old, bright career. I know that she and Kiera were close. She is the past president of the Barristers Association. That's the black lawyers group in Philly. I know that I worked with her under her leadership there, and I was really sad to see that news in the paper because she had such a bright career. So again, praying for her and for her family and all those who are bereaved, bro. All right.
Amen. Thank you. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We deeply appreciate you checking us out here at the Power Hour. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. to bring you the latest news happenings around Philadelphia and, of course, our opinions. Special shout-out to Rosalind Wonichik and Earlene Biley for joining us today from Unite Here Local 274. And we really appreciate all the work that they're doing. Shout-out to all the essential workers out there, both the hospitality workers and nurses who are working through this particular moment in time. Listen, folks, go out, change the day. Oh, thanks, Kawesa, and thanks, Reverend Tyler. Everybody that's checking us out on Facebook, we really appreciate you. Now, stay tuned for Wake Up with Word with Solomon Jones. Go out, change the damn world, because if you don't, nobody else will. Peace.
Oh, I got eyes in the back of my head, just in case I